Hi, everyone. I am back home from Belize. So today's topic is going to be relationships. And we talk about investments in different areas, but today the main focus is going to be investing in relationships. And I'm going to touch on different topics in different areas of relationships. And so the first one I'm going to touch on upon is relationships with your significant other. A little bit of background. Most of you who do know us personally know that Jaime is my life partner, but also my business partner. And so we met about 18 years ago. So 2005 is how far we went back in optometry school. And so, to be life partners is one thing, but to also be in business together is a whole nother dynamic. And so when you're dealing with relationships, you really want to invest in relationships. It's just kind of like anything, if you don't water it, it will die. And so communication is one of the very, very key things when you have two different people building a life together. And a lot of times, we're so career driven that sometimes our relationships get put on the sideline. And so I really think that the quality of your relationships really impacts the quality of your life. And so having your significant other, and like for Jaime and I, it's a matter of learning. We're completely two different people, and most people who get together, you go through the honeymoon phase and everything is nice and you're dating, and then once you get married and then you have children, you know, and sometimes if you don't nurture that relationship and communicate and continue the date night and courting one another, a lot of people put their focus on their careers. And then when they have children, they put their focus on their children. And then when the children get older, they become empty nesters and then they start drifting apart. And we see this so often in relationships, and there's so many divorces, and people just, fall out of love per se. And I think that with every relationship, you're going to have ups and downs. But it's important that through those ups and downs, and I think with the challenges, that's where you build stronger bonds. And because if you're able to be authentic with one another and learn through those processes, that you can really, really have a stronger bond. And children, they really watch your dynamic. And I think a lot of children suffer when parents do bicker in front of them or they go through divorces and things of that nature. So I think dating one another is really important, continuing to date one another, and then also having alone time. I know a lot of people kind of feel guilty to be apart from their children sometimes. And Jaime and I do what's called immersion trips, where we do self development, where we work on ourselves, but then also as a couple. And we do that alone away from Athena. And she's been accustomed to that at a very young age. And she understands and she sees that dynamic at home. And I think families that communicate well, that's the best role model. If they have a healthy role model in the relationship and they see how people communicate, I think that's a very, very positive thing for children to learn because they mirror and model the way we speak, the way we communicate with one another. And so I think that's important to be a good model with that. Now, the other relationship I want to talk about is your children. So at a young age, they're like sponges. So if you can learn, and I think going through our own journey, learning financial literacy, learning about personal development, the things that we're learning now more as an adult, we teach that to our daughter. And so they're young, but they can learn quite a bit and pick up at a young age, even things as like just dealing with emotions, because a lot of times when you're young, you don't know. And I want them to experience, I want her to be able to experience all the different emotions and not suppress the emotion and have to just act like a positive thing all the time. But we want her to express it. We want her to be able to communicate those emotions and how to resolve those. And the more that you can manage your emotions at a young age and be able to communicate that, that's going to be healthier as an adult. Because personally, myself, when I was suppressing a lot of emotions as a young child, that was not healthy. And so I want to make sure I encourage that you do express that. But that relationship with your children is very important, to be able to speak to them and communicate with them so that they feel confident enough. And I think if you can build a person's, if you can teach them empathy and compassion, communication, respect, of course, all the things that we want to instill for our children. But the more that we can take them out, and we love traveling with her, because when we get to travel with her to different parts of the world, it gives her perspective. And, we can talk about gratitude all we want, but if she can really go and travel and see other countries. Hi, Martine, how are you? But if she can actually go and see people in different parts of the country, and we sponsor different children in different orphanages around the world, and so she gets to be a part of that. And she's like, oh, I have a brother in this country, I have a sister in this country. But she knows how blessed she is with the things, because that's one of my fears, is worrying that I don't want her, because we had contrast. Jaime and I grew up from, not having much. And so we know the hard work and the value of the dollar. And so a lot of our children, because we want them to have the best, but sometimes if they don't have to work as hard, and my fear is that she won't have the motivation and drive to want to have to work as hard. And so that's why I think traveling the world, having her volunteer and seeing perspective is one of the big reasons why we want her to be involved in that too. So, so important, right? The other thing is relationships when we're dealing with business, right? Outside of our personal family. When you're building a business, that's the core of the business, is building relationships, whether it's partnerships, whether it's your team, and building that, your clients, your patients. And it's long term. It's really something that you want to nurture. And so for us, relationships is the core of our businesses. And it's been allowing us to grow and scale. And it takes time, and you do have to nurture those relationships and build loyalty. And, you have to have a system to check on people, and have a way that you can add value to others, and find ways that you can collaborate with one another. Because that's the challenge, is sometimes people go and they just want to network and they just want to pass out business cards, and we just don't operate in that fashion. We're always quality over quantity, and it's always been like that. When we built our practices, we're small scale, we're 2 practices, and we're small. We've been in business for about 12 years, but we didn't have marketing dollars at the beginning. It's all word of mouth referrals and patient base that, we grew over the years. But we are one of the, top eye care practices here in the DFW area. But again, it's by word of mouth. It's relationships that we nurture. We truly get to know our patients. Patients will move and they'll still come back and see us. Some of these patients, before we had our practices, have been following us for about 17, 18 years. And now when we're working with investors and things in our real estate is such a people business, and so it's something that you have to build trust. People have to know, like, and trust, right? And even with general partners, and these are large scale projects that you're working with, and so trust is at the core of our business. And so we build our teams, we build the culture. When you have a company that doesn't do well, and you have high turnover and things, there's a core problem typically with the leadership, and the culture that's involved. And so that's one of the things we value a lot, is making sure that we create a good work environment, create a good culture, and teachings for our teams. And our team becomes our family. So anybody who joins our team becomes part of the family for us, and so that's why a lot of the successful businesses over time, they will invest in people. And if you invest in your people, that's the core of how you can really internally, and if they will work the business for you just like it's their own. And I think that's a core thing with building core relationships. And so the other thing I want to talk about is when you're dealing with, large groups and conferences, sometimes people get a little overwhelmed. And I would say, if you can have deep conversation and follow up, my mentor always says follow up and follow through. But make sure you have a way of tracking, whether it's in your CRM or whatever database, but have a Rolodex of people that if you connected with them and you feel like there's alignment in personal and in business or potential opportunities, make sure you nurture those. A lot of our relationships where we have partnered with people, it took us 4 to 5 years in the making of nurturing those relationships, putting them on our list, visiting them, touching base with them. And especially when we were new in the industry, um, especially when we wanted to make sure that we had the opportunity to do business with them, it was that was our priority, was that we were going to go out there and make sure that we reached out to them and provided whatever value that we could so that we would have the opportunity to partner. And as we did that over the years, and then all of a sudden people think like it happens overnight. No, it's years and years in the making of building these relationships. A lot of our people that we've built, even in our investors, these are relationships that we have nurtured for many, many, many years before we've been able to. Hi, Tim. How are you? Good to see you. Hi, Tracy. Good to see you as well. But these are relationships that go over time, right? Because every category in your life, it's down to relationships. There's a saying, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And I will tell you that is absolutely true. I'm going to give you an example about a relationship. So there is a deal, we're talking about a $26 million deal. We were best and final, and we were the owner already knew the other two people that were bidding against us. And so we're best and final. There was 3 groups. The other 2 groups were in a higher position than we were because they had higher transactions and the seller already knew them and they didn't know our group. However, the broker knew who we were, the management company, they knew who we were. And so one of our friends who was very high caliber, he owned a lot of units, and he had a very close relationship with the broker. We leveraged every relationship that we could get from the broker, the management company, even our lender, and then our friend who was also considered our mentor. He personally flew to meet the broker in person. And I truly believe it was because of him. We were not the highest bid. But I truly believe because of him flying in and putting in and vouching for our team, that we were awarded the project and awarded the deal. And so that was a pure relationship move, because the seller, when we got on the seller call with the interview, he knew the other 2 people, buyers, and he did not know us at the time. But we were awarded the deal, not even being the highest bid. And so that was a very fortunate, and that's the practice. That's the building that was an A class that was close to our property. But again, that was all based off of relationships. And so, I heavily talk about relationships, but relationships at home really make a difference, because a lot of the times we focus on business, business, business. But at the core, you want to make sure that the relationship at home is good. If you have a significant other, if you don't, no worries. But if you do have a significant other, even more important, so, your family, your children, your significant other, to make sure that everything is, we talk about this balance. There's never going to be a perfect balance between work. And if you follow us, we do a lot of work and play. We work really, really hard, and we play and we travel. That's part of the things that we love to do. But we are always still making sure that we keep in touch with people, have a constant pulse with people. You don't ever want to just reach out to people when you need something, because then they'll feel like, well, you only called me because you needed something, right? And so I call it my Miracle 3. This is from Jesse Itzler. It's the Miracle 3 minutes. Every day, I make sure that I reach out to at least my top 5 people, and I roll it around. And it's a quick message. Sometimes I'll text message, I'll Facebook message, or I'll make a quick phone call. But personally reach out to 5 people that you really is aligned with your vision, whether it's personal or in business or a connection that you really value. Reach out to 5 people every single day. It takes less than 3 minutes. So if you can put that, if you can implement that consistently for 3 months, you're going to see the needle move. Okay, so little things can make a huge difference. As far as relationships, I will say that, touch on each other. Don't just ask, how are you doing? Ask, these are some questions you can ask your significant other and you can ask your children. So, number one, what is one thing that you really enjoy about our relationship currently? Number two, what is currently something that you wish could be improved upon? And number three, what is one thing within the next year that would be a big milestone goal for our relationship? So ask each other that. And for your children, you can, depending on the age, but, we do this with our daughter actually almost every night. Even when she was like 4 years old, we started this really early. We would say, what are 2 wins today? And what are 2 challenges today? Because when you ask a child, well, how was school today? Or how are you doing? It's very general. But if you can have them specify what are 2 wins today and what are 2 challenges today, right? Then it kind of helps open up, oh, and then you'll get to learn quite a bit of other things about your kids. And then you can ask also, what's mommy and daddy? What do you really enjoy about mommy and daddy? Um, you know, what are you enjoying about what we do with you? And then what do you think is something that mommy and daddy can improve upon? So you be prepared for what your kids can tell you. But you want those kind of questions to give them feedback, right? Because if the home is good, it really bleeds over to your business and everything else. But that's it for today, investing in relationships. But thank you for taking the time to join in today. But remember to live fully and give each and every day. But remember, invest in yourself and invest in your relationships. Bye, everyone.